How are you, everybody? June 7th, UFC 316 in New Jersey in the Prudential Center in Newark. Main event is going to be a good one. We already saw one of them. Suga Sean O'Malley was the bantamweight champion. Now he's trying to regain the title against Merab Dvalishvili. Sean joins me right now. Sugar, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well, Kevin. I cannot complain. Life is good.
Yeah, I would imagine getting another crack, getting that belt back. You know, it's been interesting your last few months since you won the title. You underwent surgery. Your striking relies so much on your movement and your agility and ability to set up shots like that. Any concern at all? Give us an update on how your surgery went and how you feel going into this one.
Yeah, I got surgery. It was weird scheduling surgery for after a fight, and then still making the walk. So, to be honest, like in the fight, I didn't feel like it wasn't as big of a deal as it was the preparation leading up to the fight. I wasn't able to do what needs to be done to fight someone like Merab Dvalishvili. And that's wrestle, grapple, wrestle, grapple, wrestle, grapple every day for 12 weeks. And that's what
Right.
I should have done last fight camp, but just wasn't able to. I was lucky to get one grappling session in a week last camp. Still confident, still walked into that cage like I was going to knock Marab out. But just didn't have the preparation that was needed, and with this camp I was able to do that. I was able to do what's needed to be done to beat a guy like that.
If you had fought round one like you fought round five, and then you got 20 more minutes to go, how do you think the fight's different?
Yeah, I mean, I hurt him hard in the round five. I think it takes one shot in fighting to change a fight. Everyone knows that. We've seen
Right.
it time and time again, and that just happened to been at the end of the fifth round. So ideally, that happened in the first round, right? Like that would be great. But sometimes it takes a while to find that shot that needed to be landed, and that just happened to be that case. But in a weird way, I feel like it was just this fight. That fight I was meant to lose, and this fight was meant to happen again, and it's gonna play out the way thought it was gonna play out the first time. And that's me getting my hand raised.
You know, we talked about this before the last fight, you being one of the big stars, and I don't even think just a big star active, but one of the big stars in the UFC period, the UFC's ever produced. You had the ability to say, hey, this is wrong. I can't train the way I need to train. Why did you go forward with the fight if you knew you weren't doing in camp what you needed to do to win?
Two things. One, like I said, I was still confident I was gonna go beat Merab. I didn't walk into that cage thinking I'm gonna lose. I went into that
Hmm.
fight thinking I was gonna win. And two, it was the sphere. It was this big, thing built up. It was, it's got the highest record of attended. I own that record. I have
Yeah.
that record, and that was cool to me. I mean, coming up, watching Connor break all these records, Floyd have these pay-per-view records. Like records to me was something I was kind of chasing, like something I kind of cared about. And that was a cool thing for me to have. Now looking back on it, I'm like, I guess I mean, it's still cool, but it's like, what the fuck does it get me? Nothing really. But I mean,
Right.
that'll be forever in the record books until it's broken. But that's cool. That was a big deal to me. So two, yeah, I thought I was still gonna go out there and beat him. I fought Aljo, hurt with the rib injury. Was I had a worse training camp for Aljo than I did for Marab, and I still, so I
Mm.
went out there and knocked out Aljo. Um, so I was like, the Cheeto fight, I had some stuff going on. Thankfully, we didn't have to grapple in that fight. It was just a
Right.
kickboxing, 25-minute kickboxing match. So, that was great. But yeah, I still thought I was gonna go out there and put his lights out.
What is the mentality in a rematch? You mentioned Cheeto. You went 5 rounds with him in a really dominant performance at UFC 299. After having that fight at Apex with him, I don't know how we want to describe it, but you ended up injured and having your foot hurt in that fight. Like, what is does the mentality switch, and do you feel like you gained something from having been in one rematch before that you'll bring to this one?
The second Cheeto fight didn't feel like a rematch at all. The first fight
No.
was just so short, and I guess it did because I did stand in front of him for whatever it was, 2 minutes, and he felt slow, and I felt very superior on the feet. I felt like I was I was going to do what I did in the second fight. I was planning on doing that in the first fight from what I had felt. So they didn't feel too much like a rematch because I felt like I was gonna, didn't that first fight didn't really play out too much. Merab, I fought him for 25 minutes.
Right.
I feel like this will feel more familiar. This will feel like a real rematch.
I always think you do some interesting things to get ready for your fights. Obviously, this time you had Adesanya, you had Demetrious Johnson. I want to ask you a question about Demetrious Johnson before it's not about you. Last year, Alessandro Pantoja called him out after winning the flyweight title fight, said, "Hey, I want to fight Demetrious Johnson." Demetrious said, "No, I'm done fighting." But I'm curious what you think. Demetrious, some people think is the greatest fighter of all time. He's certainly up there. If he chose to still fight, do you think he could win the UFC flyweight title at this point?
Yeah, if DJ want to come back and fight Pantoja, I mean, you can't count DJ out. You just can't. Like that would be a very competitive fight, and I would not be surprised if Demetrius won. He's still got it. He's 38. He's still explosive. He's still fast. He's still. I mean, his skills are still there. He very well could come back, but he just mentally doesn't want to go through a fight camp. And I get it. Like they're brutal.
Mm,
They're not. When you do it as many times as he's done it, you've done everything he's done. It's like he's making good money
right.
on YouTube. He's living a good life. Like what's the if you don't have that hunger inside you, the desire to want to do this, you shouldn't do this. And he's smart enough to listen to that and be like, all right, I don't need that.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's something that you've learned from watching him and how he's handled, and that when you get to the point where your body's hurting, that you'll make that same call?
Sure hope so. I don't feel like I'll have a issue walking away from this like the attention from the sport, but the actual competitive
Right.
competition, the high level. But there's other things. Maybe I'll become a pickleball player or something. So maybe I could feed that. And I definitely want to compete in jiu-jitsu when I'm done. Uh, so there's definitely ways of competing, but just something about competing at the highest level with the lights shining as bright as they do on those Saturday nights. That'll be something I feel like might be difficult to walk away from, but we'll see when it comes.
Do you feel like if you hang around for any appreciable length of time, that you can have that second act that's almost better than the first? Like I think of DC. DC had won the light heavyweight title when Jones wasn't around. Jones comes in and he loses it. Then he goes up and on his own wins the heavyweight title. Nothing to do with somebody being stripped or given the title. And he made himself a Hall of Famer as a heavyweight. Do you feel like that could be part of you, that like act number two could even be better than act one?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think I've reached my prime yet. I feel like maybe this fight coming up right now could be like Suga's in his prime. Like he's in his prime for the next 4 or 5 years. We're getting the best Sugar we got. Like
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, I feel like this could be a little resurgence, a little bit. You know, you, two, my last three fights before Morab were Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling, Cheeto Vera, and they were all really good performances. The Peter Yan fight very close. Aljamain fight, that one wasn't that close. The Cheeto fight, not very close. But yeah, I think this was just a small little speed bump, a small little hiccup, and I think I'm about to go on a tear again.
I thought before, like when you won the Contender Series, and especially like when we got to around the time of the pandemic, when you were starting the real big rise, that your skills, you were such a great striker, but that your mental game was what separated you from a lot of the other fighters. Like, do you feel like that is something that still is sharp? And do you feel like that is something that can help you overcome speed bumps and little bad moments, even in fights?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I have lost zero confidence going into this fight. I'm more confident than ever. So I don't feel like I'm mentally having to battle any demons or do anything like that. I'm ready to go.
So I know you want to talk about this fight, but I want to ask you, if you win this fight, you're the champion. It's a rubber match. Is that what happens? I mean, or do you say, "Hey, I'm tired of him and I want to see another person in front of me, no matter who it is"?
I mean, ultimately UFC decides that. He's again UFC decides what Merab's doing, which is giving me the rematch. But he's also, I think there's something there. I think Merab is giving me the rematch as well. But I think Morab might be doing it in a way. He's like, oh, I get to fight Sean. I just beat him. That's the easiest fight to make. That's who I want next. So, it depends what the UFC wants. I think there's big fights. Me versus Corey, me versus Peter Yan rematch is I think a lot bigger than a trilogy with Morab. But at the end of the day, I want to do what the people want to do, and I know this fight's getting a lot of pushback. Like, oh, why do you get you don't deserve a rematch, whatever it is. So it's what do the fans want? The fans want to see me versus Mob 3, which definitely got a little ring to it. Suga versus Peter Yan 2, massive. Me versus Corey, it's a big fight.
He's talking crap, so he said some things about you. So
yeah, so I think I'm always in a good position when it comes to options. I feel like we got options, and I like that. And it's we'll see. Not I got to go out there and take care of business June 7th, and that's what I'm gonna do. And then we could have that conversation after.
So quick one, and we'll wrap with this. There was a video I think ESPN put on SportsCenter of Morab training in the rain and you filming him. So what goes through your mind when you're watching it? And do you think he knows you're filming him? Is he performing for you?
No, this was a long time ago. I think this was before. Was this? I mean, this might have been after I fought Aljo or before I fought Aljo. If this was a decent amount of time ago. I was just sitting outside of the rain talking with Emron, one of my business partners, and I see this guy, this little short fella, come outside and tell his video guy, "Hey, go stand over there." And then he started shadowboxing in the rain. I knew it was Merab, and I just thought it was just funny to see from an outside perspective because you see from his perspective and on Instagram him shadowboxing in the rain. It was just funny to see it from my perspectives. Him getting recorded do it. It just looked goofy.
You gotta love that. Well, on June 7th, you can see Suga Sean O'Malley try to regain the UFC bantamweight championship. Sean, always good to talk to you. Appreciate your brother. Best of luck to you.
Boom. All right, Kevin. Have a good one, buddy.
See you soon, bro.